Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Oh, that was worth it.
You're going to jail.
Oh, shut up. The fact of the week. Did you know that when televised... So, in 1957, televised games became a thing, and the first ones were obviously the VFL. But during this time, only the final quarters of games were televised. Not even the full game, just the final quarter. So there you go, that's the fact of the week. The AFL fact of the week. So when televised games became a thing, only the final quarter. So if it was a close game, just chuck on the telly in the final quarter and there you go. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, welcome back to the podcast. We took a break in between. Well, we didn't take a break. I accidentally lost the footage of the actual second episode that we recorded.
You lost it?
I accidentally deleted it, alright? Yeah, so there was meant to be... This wasn't meant to be the second episode. This was technically meant to be the third one. We'd already recorded the second episode. But I went back in the folder and for some reason my dumb brain thought I didn't delete the first episode. I was like, I'll delete this so I have more storage space. And then I deleted it. And then I went back and I went to edit the second episode that we actually recorded before. And I realized I accidentally deleted the second episode that we recorded. But we're here and I'm not going to delete this one, hopefully, because there is... My God, a list and a half that we're going to talk about. It's not like there wasn't really much to talk about during the week, so we're pretty much just going to run through most of the games, and there's some side topics that we're going to be talking about. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and this is the co-host, my co-host, Chloe.
Wow.
Yep. And yeah, we've got a lot to talk about this week.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. It's been a long week. I got up and made my tipping video and now I'm doing this. But yeah, we're going to get through it. There's a few things that we need to talk about. Not very controversial things, but whoop-de-doo. And yeah, so let's get things kicked off. And, you know, this is what's going to get people clicking in the video, this topic here.
Ooh.
It's like we're going to start it
Clickbait.
off with the first... This is the first topic. Like, we're not even going to start off with the game. Like, we're just jumping into the controversy. Okay. Right? This is, like, a huge topic as well, right? It's been talked about for a bit.
Yeah.
So the question is, this year, it's obviously not going to be held at the G. I think everyone knows where I'm going with this now. Where should the grand final be held? And why should it be held in wherever place you want it to be held? Chloe, where? Where and why?
Personally,
Interrogation.
Personally, for me, I think it should be held at the Gabba. Not only because I do not like the Western Australian government because they're assholes, but like the fact that they've been so like willing to bring everyone up there. Do you know what I mean? Like I think 10 clubs or however many clubs are up in Queensland at the moment, and it's like they should deserve to get it.
All of the clubs.
And I know that people are like, oh, Optus is bigger, Optus this, Optus that. Well, like, yeah, but you're holding 4 clubs at a time. Brisbane's doing a lot more, and they pretty much saved the AFL basically this year. So I feel like they should get it.
I feel like they deserve it more. Brisbane, Queensland in general, whether it gets held at the Gabba or Metricon, probably the Gabba. But bigger, who knows? Whoop-de-doo. I mean, they hosted the...
When did it get announced?
I don't know.
Is it a couple days?
I think they're talking. Okay. They're in talks about it. Yeah, because a couple of days ago, I'm pretty sure everyone heard that the AFL and Victoria were in negotiations of moving the grand final away from the G this year. Obviously, because of what's happening in Victoria. We're in stage 4 lockdown, can barely go outside, whoop-de-doo. I said whoop-de-doo.
You've said that a lot today.
Yeah, okay, I know. But yeah, they're moving it out of Victoria, so it leaves a lot of debate. There's a lot of well, there's pretty much 3 states that have put their hand in. I don't think New South Wales are going to put their hand in now because Sydney and GWS moved out of New South Wales themselves because apparently cases started to rise, Which was a good idea because, like, you know, you got to take it in that chance. They took it early because they didn't want to, you know, leave it too late. So, like, it could have been like 10 cases came out of nowhere, and, you know, the AFL's just like, get the fuck out of New South Wales right now. You're moving.
Yep.
Which is why we're getting, like, the Battle of the Bridge, whatever they call it, in Perth tonight, which is kind of weird. Never thought that would happen, but whatever. But yeah, it just there's pretty much South Australia, WA, and Queensland have put their hand into host the grand final. I personally want Queensland to hold it, but you know, if we're looking at AFL terms, right? It's
knowing AFL, yeah.
Knowing AFL and knowing, I mean, especially, I don't know, if it was in another year, say, and they were just testing it, it was just like 1 year, a random year, when nothing's really going wrong, there's no friggin' pandemic or virus spreading around, and the AFL 1 year were just like, you know what, we're just gonna chuck the AFL grand final somewhere else. I think, you know, Perth holding it would just bring in a lot of debate, but in, like, money-wise, you know, like,
yeah.
Money-wise, if it was just in a normal year, there would just be so much anger being like, oh, the AFL are just doing this for money, whoop-de-doo, la la la. I said it again. They're just doing this for the money, the cash, they just want more people, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that would happen in that. But in this year, in the context of this year, where there's just a lot of talks about the AFL losing a shit ton of money, because they're helping teams travel. They're paying for teams to go to hubs. They're paying for teams in the hubs themselves. And we're like talking all Victorian teams. So we're talking 10 Victorian teams in a hub in either like South Australia, Queensland, WA.
Or
Yeah, Western Australia. So they're paying for that. They're paying, I don't know. I don't know if they're paying for the other teams, like WA teams going to other places, whatever. They're paying for a lot of stuff, really. And like, you know, it's a lot of money to have 10 Victorian teams in different hubs. It's crazy, and they're paying for their families to be there as well. Not only the players, they're paying for the families. They're just chucking a shit ton of money down. So they're losing a lot this year. So in this season, you could say like it wouldn't be a bad idea for for Optus Stadium to hold the grand final, because there would be, you know,
money-wise,
generally a lot more people allowed there. I mean, they almost could have had a capacity crowd at the Derby, they were saying, but, you know, they had to halt it because of restrictions and stuff. So, you know, further down the line, they could have a capacity crowd there, and the AFL would look at that and maybe be like, well, if they're having a capacity crowd at Optus, we'll just chuck it there. Get a fair few bit of monies because, you know, we're running out. But yeah, in terms of like where I'd want it to be held, really just Queensland. They have generally been the nicest, and it's not just like
the nicest. Emphasis on the nicest part as well.
Yeah,
because the Western Australian government.
Yeah,
Jesus.
The lady, the state premier, who, you know, who's the leader of Queensland. You know, the lady who's the leader of Queensland, she seems like a nice person. Like, I would want to hang out with her, have a cup of tea or whatever. WA bloke, WA premier, not really the nicest bloke. Wouldn't even want to drink water with him, to be honest. Not even a glass of water. Maybe like, I don't know, just say quick hi, then go away, because I don't really care about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just two different factors to take into this. It's just like the nicest of Queensland. They've like been really kind to the AFL. They respected all the teams that have come in. They want all the teams to come, and just they've been really nice to the teams. Obviously, that's what I'm trying to say here. And WA, not so much. We'll put it that way. They haven't really been too nice to the AFL. Just gonna put it out there, and it's gonna probably anger a lot of WA people. But come on, back off it. And it's not just the Premier. I found this to be the thing. It's not just the Premier who's being an arsehole about it, about the AFL and whatsoever. It's also just generally the people. in WA, right? I don't know. Like Queensland, they haven't really. Like they've been nice. They haven't really said anything about people in Victoria whatsoever. But they're not saying anything. But they're also not being rude to us.
Yeah.
They're just keeping where they should. They're not just. They'll help here and there, but like they're not just saying mean things about Victorian stuff. Whereas WA people, they are just being so, I don't know, annoying about it. They're really not helping out. They're just sort of being rude about it. I don't know if it's some people just taking the piss or whatever, but I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot more people in WA who are just being rude to Victoria and just like, look what you're missing out on, you losers and stuff like that. It's not a nice thing to do, especially when we're struggling in Victoria and stuff. So... most of Victoria knows what they're missing out on, so you don't just have to rub it in. We already know. So for people to try to rub it in further, it's not nice. So I just think, in the kindness of their heart, I think the AFL should look at Queensland and be like, listen, you've been the nicest, the most caring to our teams and stuff, and just say, here's the grand final.
Yeah.
And I
agree with that.
Apparently, other big talks, the grand final this year will be at nighttime or twilight. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's already in a different state. Like, I mean, if that's what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to do it. At least it's playing. Do you know what I mean? At least it's going to be on. Personally, I would rather it be at what is it usually? 3:20, 3 o'clock, whatever time it usually is.
The grand final.
But yeah,
I think it's 2:30.
Or 2:30, yeah, around that time. I mean, I'd like it for a tradition, but if we're already like moving it, I mean, I don't. If I had to choose between twilight and nighttime, I'd rather a twilight game. Because nighttime just feels like Friday night footy. Like it just feels like a normal game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think just obviously it's going to go to a different state, but I think just the pure fact of, I think there's so much that goes into the grand final being in the afternoon, right? I think it's a better vibe. I mean, obviously when it rains it sucks, but when it doesn't rain, when it's a good day on Saturday afternoon, even when it's just a bit cloudy, no one really cares. But yeah, I think a lot more goes into Saturday afternoon than like a Friday night, Saturday night. Saturday afternoon, you can start drinking the piss. There's normally a barbecue. Everyone comes around for a barbecue for the big day. There's normally a good vibe around it. And I just feel like nighttime grand finals are just a bit weird.
It's like kids as well. It's like, so it'll finish at 10 o'clock and like the kids need to go to sleep. Like especially young kids as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially if you're doing it for family stuff. Well, we don't know what the restrictions are going to be like in Victoria when the grand final's on. But like, it's just a time for everyone to get together. And I feel like if it's too late at night, it's just, it doesn't feel like you can do a family thing. It's more of like older people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like, if you're winning the grand final, you get more time to celebrate afterwards. Like if you just like, if you're winning it and you've won it and it's like 10 o'clock at night, you're obviously gonna sink a few, but then you'll get tired and pass out probably. But I just think there's more time to celebrate, and just the evening you can hang out with people a lot longer in the evening than you can if the game was to finish at night time, to be honest.
Yeah, and if they're going to bring in like the musical artists and stuff, the game finishes by 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
They bring on the concert or whatever, and then people watch that from home, and it's like, and then you're eating dinner basically when the game's finished, not going to bed.
Yeah, I honestly think, Friday night, Thursday night footy, that's fine, right? Everyone gets around it because it's the start of the weekend, right? But I honestly think that more people like afternoon games than they do nighttime games. My brother, he is an avid supporter of the Sunday 2:10, 1:10 games, because it's an early start. You get to drink piss early, and you just get to hang around, just do stuff a lot earlier than you would at like 6 o'clock, 3:20. I think I think a lot of people just like afternoon games better, especially. I mean, winter can suck when you have an afternoon game, but like when you're getting either at the start of the season.
If you're in.
Yeah, at the start of the season or nearing the end of the season when it starts to get a bit hot, Saturday afternoon games aren't that bad,
Yeah.
And I just think, afternoon games bring a better vibe to the footy,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's...
Especially if it's in...
Sorry, one more thing. And I think it's... I know, it's imprinted in our heads.
It's the lag.
It's imprinted in our heads because... A lot of people, like local footy, it's all done in the afternoon. So everyone loves afternoon local footy.
Exactly.
So it just sort of translates to the AFL in a sense,
Yeah, because like most basically under 18s up, you're playing at 2 p.m. Like that's when you're playing. And also, especially if it's in Brisbane, like 2 o'clock game, like Brisbane can rain, like especially Gold Coast can rain sometimes, but if it's warm, like it's perfect at like a 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
In Brisbane, if it is held in Brisbane, we obviously don't know that, but yeah, I just feel like afternoons are a lot better than a nighttime game.
Yeah, and in terms of like, West Coast could make it to the granny, but in terms of who makes it to the granny, I think a lot. It's tough to say, but I reckon there's a combined lot more of supporters in Queensland than there are in WA. Would that be fair to say? I feel like in WA there's certain clubs that have a big supporter base, like we'll say Carlton, maybe Collingwood, and maybe even Geelong. Apparently there's a lot of Geelong supporters in WA. But, there's only a couple clubs a couple Vic clubs or a couple like interstate clubs that have big supporter bases in that general spot, whereas in Queensland there's like generally a lot of supporters from a lot of clubs that live in Queensland. So you got to factor in where the most supporters would be in. And I think in terms of of all the clubs, not just certain clubs, I think more supporters are in Queensland for all the clubs than there are in WA. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, to be honest, but. Yeah, I
feel like we should be talking about this for a long time.
Yeah, I know. It's a touchy topic. Anyway, we'll move on to the games now because there is a few. Port Adelaide versus Richmond. We'll get stuck into that one now because one of the games of the season, I reckon. Power fans not happy again. Power fans not happy again, right? 2 free kicks in the second quarter, which really got me frustrated and which really, because I really wanted Port Adelaide to win this one, no doubt about it. I really did want them to win, even though I don't really care about it. But, there was an incident in the second quarter where Dusty pushed a player, and I feel like a lot of players get away with pushing a player, and I feel like it's just really frustrating. Dusty, he pushes a player in the back, the free kick doesn't get paid, and then Revolt gets a soft free where he barely gets touched, really. And it's just, it comes back again to all this umpiring shenanigans that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. And it's just really frustrating that they still just can't get it narrowed down. They're just not opening their eyes. And it just, brings the point of, why do we have so many umpires on the field, yet we can't spot free kicks like that, Yeah,
the simple ones.
The simple ones, yeah. But it's just, they should be just getting more clear free kicks. I don't know how to put it. I don't want to get it into, rugby territory where, they, go to the bunker every, couple minutes to check on something was this a forward pass, was this or that. I don't want it to get into that stage. Because I feel like it would just be annoying for AFL. Because AFL's not really a stop-start sport, We just continuously going back and blah, blah, blah. Kicking it there, handball, kick. Whereas rugby, it's just pass, they get tackled. Do it again, pass, get tackled again. Until they finally get a try. But yeah, we're more we're more go instead of stop start. So I think, you know, that
Yeah.
would really work in our game.
Definitely. And with our with like it gets frustrating if like the score review takes too long. But imagine if we had like a review for like disposals or free kicks. That would be so annoying.
That would be so annoying. Yeah.
Like, that would just slow the game down. And it's like if you've got like a run of play and then you get, a throw or whatever, and then have to like review that. But yeah, no, the free kicks are really annoying to watch. And even the commentators are saying it, like on Friday Night Footy, they're like, especially, not going to get started on the holding the ball one, but that's really frustrating a lot of people. And now the fact that simple free kicks like pushing in the back or like throws and stuff are just being like play on.
Yeah.
Which is annoying. But
and there's
especially the behind the head handball.
Yeah,
like, that's just a throw.
I think there's a lot of controversy with that. Like, watching it on TV, our game, no doubt, is a fast-paced game. But it's so crazy how players can just get rid of the ball so quickly. And then you look on a slow-motion replay and they've actually, they've actually handballed it. And you're just like, how have they done that so quickly? But there's some of them where you're just like, okay, surely he's thrown that. There's no way.
Yeah.
It's just like, they've got one hand and they're just letting it out. But, the umpires looks like, whatever. And they just need to look at it. I think, they need to look at holding the ball and just like players that throw the ball more closely. And they just, again, we spoke about this so much, so I don't want to like go on about it, but they just need to narrow down what holding the ball is. Because I feel like a lot of umpires have different interpretations. When they go into the game, there's a lot different interpretations given from different umpires. Sometime in the same game, there's a different interpretation from one umpire to another. So it's just, it doesn't help when that happens. Because you're just like, well, if that guy dragged it in and got pinged for holding the ball, why didn't that guy get pinged for holding the ball when he did the same thing? It just creates a confusing nature around what is holding the ball. And the commentators are speaking about
it's ruining the
game
game,
as
so
well. Yeah. So when you got commentators talking about it, it's not a good look for our game because they're the ones that are calling
players
the game.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
So and it's like frustrating when like you're watching the game and they're like, let's get paid holding the ball, and they're like, how is that holding the ball? Like they're ex-football players, and the commentators who are supposed to be calling the game aren't even agreeing with what the umpires are doing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound good either.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But they just fix it up, dickheads. It was a good game, the Power Richmond game. I put it into short term, so the Power got off to a hot start. It was sort of like this for the whole game. The Power would get away, then the Tigers would bring it back. And it was sort of a tight tussle during the second and third. But I think this game really, Power won it in the end. And this game really, in the final quarter, this game really shows that Port Adelaide maybe are just a serious team to look at this year. And a serious team to beat. If you beat the Power. But it's hard to say because, like, you look at it this way. Like, if you beat the Power, you can get looked at as a good team, but then you can go on to the next week and lose. Like, like the Saints, right? The Saints beat the Power by 29 points, and then they've gone on and I don't know to say they haven't been playing their best footy, but I'm going to say it. They really haven't been playing their best footy since that game. I mean, obviously they played well against Adelaide, no duh, but they got smashed by Geelong. They barely beat the Suns, who drew to Essendon. And, it's just... They shouldn't really be getting smashed by a team like Geelong. Like, Geelong are good, but they should still be in the contest and not be getting smashed, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But the Power, serious team to beat. The Tigers, well... I would have thought they would have put on more of a challenge, but the Power just ran away with it in the end. And watch out for the Power. Watch out. Who plays the Power this week? It's the Cats, so that'll be a good game. Now, the next game, probably get Chloe to talk on this one a bit. but it was the Dogs versus the Lions game. It was sort of like last week in a way, or the last game in a sense. The Dogs were in the game against the Lions at the start, but then they sort of started losing control in the second half. Hitwood found a bit of form in the game. We're not going to talk about the one that he missed from straight in front, even though I just did. And yeah, I'll get you to talk a bit about this game and what your feelings towards it and how you think it just turned out.
I mean, it's like what happened 2 weeks ago. Like, we start off well. We just can't, like, we get all these opportunities. We just can't, like, punish them. Do you know what I mean? Like, the start was good. I think we kicked the first, 2 goals?
Yeah,
I don't know. But we were kicking straight. So we were doing well. My one issue was, throughout the whole game, Ryan Gardner, who I said in the podcast that ended up not being uploaded, I said he shouldn't be playing AFL, and I was correct. He was playing on Hipwood the whole game, and out of the 5 goals Hipwood kicked, did he kick 5 goals?
Did he kick 5? I think like 4 or 5,
no, was getting away.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but 3 of the goals were from stupid free kicks at Gardner, like little jumper holds, like high contact, stuff like that you shouldn't be giving away. I feel like Bevo should have put Keith on Hipwood. Yeah. But he didn't. And so that just happened. And then I think it was in the third quarter, the Lions midfield just killed us. Because it was just... And they kicked like, 3 goals from 4 kicks or something. Yeah. In like 2 minutes. So, I mean, we start off well. We're playing Adelaide this week, so if we don't win that, you best bet I'm not going to be on the podcast next week because I would not want to show up.
Oh no!
Fingers crossed.
Oh no! I reckon you should win that game. Unfortunate news came out today that Adelaide's standing captain Tom Doedee has re-injured. I don't know if it was the same hamstring that he injured before, but he did a hamstring injury. And now will be out for the rest of the season. So thoughts go out to him because he literally just came back from a hamstring injury, which I hate to see when players come back from an injury and then get injured in the game that they come back in. It's unfortunate, but everything's pretty much going against the Crows right now. Literally everything. So yeah, do they find a win? I just don't know. I generally don't think it'll be against the Dogs, to be honest with you.
If we play like
Aaron Norton's I reckon Aaron Norton's just going to run riot in this game. To be honest,
like as a Bulldogs supporter, with watching the Power game and the Brisbane game, if we take our opportunities, not all of them, but if we take our opportunities, play well like we have in the first half for both games, I reckon we should win. Not giving Adelaide any shit, but I think that if we do not take our opportunities, I don't think Adelaide will capitalise because they haven't got that forward line. Yeah. Like, Tex is their, like, main forward, and I don't think he kicked a goal last week. No. Against Collingwood. Nope. So, like, if your main target in the forward line isn't kicking, and you're, like, main, like, player for the team, do you know what I mean? Like, everyone talks about Tex all the time. Yeah. I just feel like he hasn't got that form, so the threat isn't there. So I just hope that if Bruce and Norton get up and they start early, I think we should be fine. Yeah. But
I think...
I mean, you never know.
Against Adelaide, I want to take it back, like, we won't go to the game, but, like, I feel like a lot of players who are, say, out of form, find form against a good team, and generally, like, Adelaide are the ones this year that when you play them, and if your players aren't doing that well, if it was like certain players aren't doing that well, they get a few goals here and there and then start getting their confidence up from that game. Like Stevenson kicked 2 against the Crows. Darcy Cameron was a great lead-up target for us against the Crows. And Jack Crisp, we'll get talking about him sooner or later, but he turned it up against the Crows. So a lot of players seem to find form against bad teams. Like last year, it was Gold Coast, per se. I remember when Collingwood were having a bad patch, they played Gold Coast, beat them by 50 points, odd 50 points, and then we beat the Crows' Neck the week after. So, it's just the fact that when you come up against a bad team, your team generally find form from that game. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, we'll do the tips at the end like we always do anyway. But next game we're going to talk about is the... actually, before we move into that, so just want to bring into the fact that the Power and the Tigers game, and also the Lions and the Dogs game, to me, and I don't know about you, but to me, they sort of had a sense of normality about them. And what that means is, like, there's been a lot of games this year that haven't really had that footy feeling, or that, like last year when you would get those good scores, or those, those natural scores. This year we've more had some unnatural scores, and there've been some unnatural games where teams couldn't, where, like, both teams can barely find a goal in a quarter. But I just feel like those games just brought a sense of normality back in. Especially the Richmond and Power game. They were both really going at it. They were finding goals left, right, and centre. And, like, it was a good score at the end. And, like the Dogs and Lions game as well. It was a close game. I think it was 16 points or something like that in the end. But, like the scoreboard just looked like a natural scoreboard like it did last year, which was good because, this year we've had shortened quarters.
And also I feel like especially with the...
You go, sorry.
Especially with the Lions and Dogs game, I'm just looking at the stats. Like, for the whole game, there was 21 free kicks to combine for both teams.
Yeah.
So I just feel like the whistles were definitely not out for that game, which I like. I like less whistles. I hate when it's like,
I hate it when
stop,
it's like,
start.
Exactly.
So I feel like with the Tigers and the Power, there was some like free kick situations that were a bit like they needed to be overruled or whatever. But they were two premiership contenders playing against each other. That's why it was such a good game. And I feel like with the Lions and the Dogs, the Lions are probably a premiership contender. The Dogs, I don't think we are at the moment. But I think having not as many free kicks helped the game flow a lot more. And I feel like all games should be like that. Like, I'm not saying like swallow the whistle, don't blow for the free kicks, whatever. But just stop calling every little tiny little push or like a little grab. Like stuff in like marking contests. If you've got your arm up and you like accidentally like push them out or whatever, I mean that happens in a game.
Yeah.
Like most contests are like that. But just because they're going forward, it doesn't mean it's a free kick. Like you wouldn't see like a holding free kick in the forward 50 like you would see on the wing. They would play it on the wing. But because it's in forward 50, they pay a free kick. So I feel like if you're going to pay something, just keep it the same everywhere.
Yeah, keep it consistent pretty much. But a lot of umpires don't tend to do that. So it's frustrating for everyone. Blues and Eagles game. Well, it was interesting at the start.
Yes, very interesting.
The Blues brought a bit of pressure. They actually had the lead for a bit of the game. Zaki Fish kicked 3 goals, kicked 4 on the day. 3 goals in the first half. And they looked alright. And then the Eagles, like they did against the Cats, they just turned it on. And it just sort of brings into the question how are Carlton gonna like find that, keep the momentum really in the second half, because they did it again, like against Hawthorn. They had all the momentum in the first half and then they just lost it in the second half. So it just sort of brings into question, can they just hold the momentum for a full game? Because right now it just looks like they can't do it at all.
Yeah.
But
they're a frustrating team to watch at the moment, to be honest. Like when they're playing well, they're very entertaining, especially like with the fast forward line and all that. It's just really, really annoying to watch a team. Usually, like if you get 25, 30 points up and you've got momentum, but then like the other team kicks a goal, you'd think you'd still have the momentum, but then the other team just keeps kicking goals and they just shut down. So it's like as soon as they've got momentum and the opposition kicks a goal, they just go, oh crap, they're coming now. Let's just stop. instead of the predicted goal, let's try and get that one back.
Yeah.
And then it just lets them in. So then one goal turns into two, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, they're very, very frustrating to watch, especially the few recent weeks. So
Exactly.
Like,
Far out, Carlton. But yeah, yeah, the Eagles, they are starting to rise up a bit, starting to look like that scary team again, which everyone hates. And
be interesting to see what they look like away from Optus Stadium. I know that because it's their home ground. They've played there 5-6 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how they play in Queensland. Seeing you don't know where the game's going to be held, the grand finals will be held, but I'm definitely thinking they're in the premiership contenders.
Contention now, yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting because apparently the AFL are going to be moving the WA teams out of WA again for a bit nearing the end of the season, so it'll be interesting. And apparently there will also be a lot of games played in Darwin, I think, somewhere in Darwin or Alice Springs or wherever. Yeah, so there'll be a lot of games played at like CIO Stadium or whatever it's called. I don't know. A lot of games played there, especially the Dreamtime game, which will be good because like Dreamtime in Darwin at TAO Stadium. It'll be good. It'll be a good spectacle to watch. I can't wait to see it be played there. Hopefully they can, because I don't think there's any concerns about the virus in Darwin, to be honest. So hopefully they can get like a healthy crowd in. Be a good game, and hopefully that all goes well in Darwin. I think there's 2 games being played there. There's Carlton Gold Coast on the Friday night or Thursday night, and then Richmond Essendon Dreamtime game on the Saturday night. So that will be good to watch. We'll just continue on with the games, and then we'll just slide into the other topics and just get rid of them quickly. The Saints versus the Cats. Interesting game. I sort of thought this was going to happen. I said it in my tipping video. I said that the Cats would have a plan for the Saints' speed, and I was definitely correct in saying that. Tom Hawkins kicked 5 goals. So what do you like? It was a big loss. Like, we're not talking like the Saints lost by 2 points, 3 points, whatever. They lost by about 53, I think it was in the end. That's a huge loss for them. So does it mean 59. Anything? What does it mean for the Saints?
I mean, they've had their season's been up for so long, but I think after, I don't want to offend any Saints supporters, but after the win against Port Adelaide, they've had this, not arrogance, but we're going to win every game type of thing because we've beaten the top side type of thing. And I just feel like they've gone in way too confident against, especially a team against the Cats, because Geelong are a very good side.
Yeah. And
I think they went in too confident. Geelong are okay, we're going to play our game, plus we're going to cancel out your best feature of your side, which is speed, and they shut them down straight away. And the fact that Hawkins kicking 5 goals just shows, when the Cats are on, they're on. Because I reckon if Hawkins is playing well, that's how you know if the Cats are doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But,
Hawkins is a massive unit. No doubt about it. He is huge. So it's kind of scary that he's finding form. And, we're heading into the, the end of the season, because we've only got 17 rounds this season. And we're already at round 11. Well, we just finished round 11. We're in round 12 tonight, which means we've got, 5?
In 3 hours?
Yeah, 4 rounds to go. And then we got finals after that. It's all ending so quickly. And it seems like it only started a couple days or weeks ago. But, so if Tomahawk can start, reeling in a couple more fivers, who knows what could happen.
Form,
but, if you're chucking on a multi, 3 or more goals, Tom Hawkins every game. Or maybe 2 or more, just to be safe.
Don't listen to Sam.
Just to be safe, 2 or more goals. 3 or more, you get into dangerous territories. I accidentally put 2 or more on Magic Door when I was thinking I was just putting him on anytime goal scorer. He kicked the first goal. I'm like, all right, you've got 3 quarters to kick 1 more. Surely you can kick 1 more. And then they didn't even score a goal in the second half. Not even anyone on their team. What the fuck? How do you do that? Yeah. Anyway.
I just remember the excitement you texted me when he kicked the goal. You're like, oh my god, he's kicked the goal.
It's like Madge kicks the first, and I was like, yes. I was up and about, and then Nick Larkey kicked 2 goals in the first quarter. I was like, oh my god, it's gonna happen. And then Jed Anderson got injured. Jed Anderson had 10 disposals. He only needed 5 more, and then he got injured. But it wouldn't have mattered anyway because Madge didn't even kick a second goal. Neither did their whole team for the second half. But, that's really disappointing, like they are. Freo versus Hawthorn. Jeez, who would have thunk it? But the Dockers, 2 wins on the trot. Finals contenders. Well, maybe next week, if they win this round, maybe we'll actually take that serious. I'm not going to yet. But they've won 2 in a row. They kept Hawthorn goalless for a quarter, which is hard to do.
Oh.
And
I'm back.
But the Dockers are looking all right now, and I'm going to bring this into the picture. They hired Justin Longmuir, who was a defensive coach at Collingwood for about 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. Helped us get to a prelim and a granny, which we didn't win. But the question that I want to raise is. I don't know. It's not really a question, actually, but teams seem to be struggling, and I don't know if it's a Perth thing, but they just seem to be struggling now to get it through, to get the ball through the Dockers' defense. Really, they're just struggling to move the ball around the Dockers' defense, and are Dockers games a bit boring to watch because they're really defensive? That's sort of the question that I want to raise. Obviously, it's a good tactic. It's working for them. They're being defensive, and when they get the ball on the turnover, they're scoring. But, is it becoming a bit boring to watch Dockers games because they are so defensive sometimes?
To be honest, I forgot what game it was. It was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it definitely wasn't last week. But when your fullback, I don't know who's their fullback is for Freo, had literally 11 disposals in the first quarter. Their fullback. And it's just I understand if you want to play out from the back, understandable, but they just keep switching side to side until they get an opening. I'm like, that's what you should do for footy, but I reckon take a risk. Yeah. Take a risk into the middle. You've already got your whole team in the defensive 50, so you're fine if you get a turnover. But just take the risk and try and go down the middle instead of switching until you find someone open on the wing.
Yeah.
It is. I haven't watched Freo that much this year. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating when it's very defensive. I understand if you're a bit defensive, but they definitely play from defense.
Yeah.
And me being a Bulldog supporter, I'm used to playing with speed. So when I see games like that slowed down, I'm just hurry up and kick the ball, please.
It's a bit boring, to be honest. Yeah, and especially during this season, it's not it's not fun to watch. But if it's working for them, whatever. But if they were playing against a good team, it would be interesting to see if that defense would work. But 2 from 2. Could be 3 from 3 next week. Anyway, Collingwood versus Adelaide. A bit to talk about in this game because, I watched all of it. Adelaide's friendship with Owen grows to 11 games. Unfortunately for them. Probably 12 after the Dogs.
Hopefully 12 this week.
Yeah, I know.
Fingers crossed, touch wood.
Hey, touch wood. Stop touching wood. Collingwood... Sorry. I just want to put this into perspective. This is how bad Adelaide are doing, really. Collingwood's backline had no Darcy Moore, no Jeremy Howe, no Roughhead in the last quarter, and yet Adelaide could only find 5 goals. That's when you know you're struggling.
Yes. And like I said before, Tex did not kick one. So that means if your star forward is not kicking goals, something's going wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I said it watching the game as well. Because there was one part of the game where Tex started yelling. He was in the goal square yelling at other people and stuff, even though he's meant to be a leader. But I just yelled out, Tex, you're not a forward, you're a midfielder. You know? He's not a forward line player. It's just not in his craft. I mean, he can take a mark here or there, but he's just more of a midfielder to me than he is,
even
a forward line player.
Centre-half forward, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know...
Centre-half forward, push up into the midfield.
Yeah.
I reckon full forward is bad for Adelaide because they're just keeping him down. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I just feel like if he hasn't got the form, put him up centre-half forward or even chuck him in the midfield like you said. Let him have a bit of touch of the ball and then hopefully... he can kick a few. Not this week, next week, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, just keep him full forward for this week. But yeah, I just feel like they're not using him the way that they should be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of what Adelaide's problems are, it's not really their young players. Like, the young players make a mistake here or there, but, like, it's generally, like, some of the experienced players that are making mistakes. And last night they brought... well, McKay was I think it was Smith or McKay. I think it's Smith, Brodie Smith. They put him back in centre-half back. They put him in the midfield for a couple of weeks. And they put him back in centre-half back. He was doing all right, you know. The first half, like, the Crows looked all right. I was a bit worried. But, yeah, he made 2 mistakes. One of them... well, he didn't make 2 mistakes, but he made one mistake which gave Steve-O a goal and gave us, you know, got us close into the game. And then we took it away from there. But, like, yeah, he kicked it across the field. It was a bad kick. It lands in Steve-O's lap. Steve-O goes back and kicks the goal. And there was also another incident where, you know, you can take forward pressure into this, but someone just handballs it right to Stevenson. It's nearing the end of the third quarter, so you really don't want to be giving away a goal. Someone handballs it to Stevenson. Stevenson snaps around the body, kicks a goal, and then seconds after that, the Pies get it out in the midfield. Darcy Cameron takes a mark. They kick another goal. So it's just a lot of things that are just going wrong for the Crows. Just everything's going against them. And so I feel like themselves are going against themselves, to be honest. Like, there's just no confidence in themselves at the moment, which is... It's bad for them, you know? It's just really bad for them. It's just not a good look for them. They still haven't found a win. The question just grows bigger and bigger. When will they find a win? With injuries galore, with all these turnovers that they're doing, when will they find a win? It's the biggest question in the AFL right now.
And then they're playing Geelong after us.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, I would not, or hopefully not this week, but with the form that we're playing with and that Geelong are in now, because who did Geelong play this week? They play...
Port Adelaide.
Yeah. At Metricon. So that would be a good game. If Geelong get up against Port Adelaide, they will be on a very good streak at the moment, beating the Saints by that much and then beating the top of the table.
Yeah.
And then they play the bottom of the table the week after.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. And
I don't know.
And
they could, because there's only 17 rounds, they could go without a win the whole season.
They could, yeah, exactly.
You think?
That's what I'm thinking.
There's 5 games, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 6 games if you count this week. But have they had a bye yet, Adelaide?
I don't think
they haven't. So then...
Like, yeah, and if you look at it, right, if you look at the, we'll say, bottom from 14th to 18th, right, they've already played Sydney. They've lost to Sydney. They played North Melbourne. They lost to North Melbourne. I'll chuck the Suns in. They played the Suns. They lost to the Suns. They played Freo. They lost to Freo. They've already lost to, like, the bottom 4 teams, not
6,
bottom 6, but bottom 4. They haven't played Hawthorn yet, so maybe Hawthorn. But they've already lost to, like, half of the bottom 6 teams. They've got you next, and sure, I'm just got to back the Dogs in. I don't think the Crows are going to beat the Dogs, to be honest.
Well, I just feel like if we play like we have the last 2 weeks, if we start off well, I just feel like we start off well, but then we like switch off. But obviously you can never switch off in a game. But I just think that even if we do for a quarter or for 5 minutes, teams like Port Adelaide and Lions will kill you if you switch off.
Yeah.
But I just feel like Adelaide don't have that at the moment. So I'm not saying let's just relax. I'm just saying there's not as much pressure on us. But then again, there's always pressure when you're playing the bottom team because you do not want to lose, especially if they haven't won a game.
Yeah.
So I just think that we need to win this week, especially after losing 2 in a row. We need to win.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of chances. Like if you look at the ladder, there's so many teams who are close to the top 8. Gold Coast are even close in that case. But if you look at it in the Crows' perspective, right? They have to play you this week. They haven't played Carlton or Hawthorn, so they haven't played 3 of the bottom 10 teams, really. So after they play those 3, so that takes, 3 games out. There's 5 rounds left. So they're still going to have to play 2 teams that are in the top 8 right now. I mean, if they don't beat a team outside the top 8, I can't see them winning a game. I cannot. I literally can. My money on them would just maybe be against Hawthorn to beat them. I reckon that's it. Probably not against Carlton. I reckon Carlton will smash them. But yeah, Adelaide. Oh, Jesus.
And the thing that helps us as well is that it's at Metricon, not Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Last game. What a ripper. What a ripper of a game. It ended up being a draw, 73-73. The Suns versus the Dons. Absolutely scenes at Metricon Stadium. Talk about Isaac Rankin. Should he have went back and tried to win the game, or should he have passed it off? Thoughts?
I mean, personally, I didn't watch the game,
right?
So I don't really know.
Okay.
But can you give me like an idea of like what the situation was?
So,
you can answer the question.
Yeah, he was. There was about a couple, we'll say like 45, 50 seconds left in the game. It was about 50 to 55 meters out. And, he's went back and then he's like, the game's on his boot pretty much from there. Like, if he scores, the Suns will win. So, since you didn't see the game, and all I've given you is that, from that, what I've just given you there, do you reckon he should have passed, or do you reckon he should have taken a shot?
I think if I was... Because you know how, like, you can see on the bench how long's left, whatever. Obviously, you do not want to give the ball away. But with knowing that there's, like, a minute left, I would have thought, if I was him, I don't think he would... Is it a long kick? I don't know if he would have made the distance. But I would have even tried to put it at the top of the square. If no one marks it, rush it through, you're up by a point. Yeah. Then just defend.
Yeah.
I don't know. So he went to play on and then he smoked the ball. Is that what happened?
I'll tell you what happened, because now you said what you said. He went back. He was having a shot. There was no doubt he was having a shot. He wasn't passing to anyone. Because, he is a good player. I'll give him that. But there's a stat that says in the last quarter, Isaac Rankin has only kicked 2 goals and 8 behinds in the last quarters across the whole year. So he probably should have known that. Because he went back, he had the shot, it just floats across the face of goals. It lands short, it's like on the left side of the boundary. And, there's a bit of a scramble on, and there was a smother at the end of the game. So there was a lot that happened. So pretty much Isaac Rankin didn't win the game. There was a chance for Alice to kick a goal or any score, really, and he didn't. Yeah. There was a smother. And the Dons, they held on for a draw, so another week of disappointment for the Suns. They almost could have had the game in the bag. Ben King could have been the hero. He went back, had a shot, missed it. There was a lot of things that could have happened, just didn't happen. And now we've ended up with another draw, the second draw for the season. And it's interesting in the Bombers' perspective because they still have a game in hand. So is that draw more annoying for them? I think it is. I reckon it's more annoying.
I think it would be because that they've made the draw. They would have gone. No, they would have stayed at ninth because their percentage. But they would have been in ninth on level points with 8. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is frustrating because we obviously don't. So is their rescheduled game against Melbourne? Are they going to play Melbourne again?
Yeah.
Or is that
they'll play Melbourne again? Yeah.
So the fact that Melbourne's behind them by 2 points, I would have, if I was an Essendon supporter, I would have loved it for them to win, to be on equal points with 8. But yeah, it would definitely be frustrating. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that
leads us into the next thing.
Which one? Oh yeah. Okay. Where am I?
With draws.
The draws. Did I lose it?
Yeah, second last.
The second last one? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry. So, should something... This is a big talking point. It's been a talking point for quite a bit. I mean, there hasn't been a draw for a while. But, now there's been 2 in the season. There's been a lot of people on social media saying that the draw should go. So, should something come in place at the end of the game if the scores are level at full time? Or should we just keep it a draw?
I mean... because obviously with rugby it's golden point, and you can't really do that with footy because it's a lot harder to score in rugby than it is with footy because you can just bomb it and try and get it through. Yeah. You can do golden goal maybe, and then first one to kick a goal wins, or they do extra time they did with the elimination final.
Yeah, I think the finals obviously, if it's a draw, you've got to do something, but. I think in the spectacle of the season, a draw is ridiculously hard to get in AFL, right? It's ridiculously hard. You have to get, you don't have to get the same amount of points and goals, but you have to get, you have to kick a total amount that ends up being the same as the other team. It's crazy to think about it, but it's such a hard thing to do that I reckon. As much as it sucks not hearing a song at the end of the game, it's just such a spectacle and it's just such a crazy thing that I reckon we should keep it. And I reckon a draw in terms, in rugby, right, they only get 2 points if they win, which is sort of silly. But in our game, if you win, you get 4 points. If you draw, you get 2. That's fine. If you draw, you get 2 points. Yeah. And it makes things a bit interesting in the ladder, in the perspective of the ladder, And I know people want to see wins, but I just think it's such an entertaining thing. When it's a draw, you're just like, oh my God, no one's won, but no one's lost. And you could sort of think of it as that way. Your team hasn't won, but they haven't lost in the same way. So I think it's just the draw is such a hard thing to get in a game that I think we should keep it. But, in finals, obviously, do something about it. But, for now, I just think keep the draw. I think it's just such an interesting thing.
Let's stop changing the game.
Please, stop. Please. Just keep it the same. We'll do one more topic and then get to tips. We'll just... and I'll keep the ones
I'm hungry.
We'll keep the ones that we didn't talk about for the next episode. Just a short one. We don't need to talk about Collingwood's injuries, whatever. But for any Collingwood fans that are listening, apparently Jeremy Howe is way ahead of schedule for his injury, which is crazy to think. But we could be getting him back soon and maybe doing to go. But the talk is that they're likely to return this season, which would be huge for us. And in sad news, Treloar's injury is actually worse than it originally was. So, thanks, Adam Treloar. Anyway, last topic, just a short one. Should quarter-time interviews be a thing?
Personally for me, honestly, I know it's to get, you into the game and stuff, but I feel like they shouldn't be a thing. I understand it's probably more for people who aren't at the game, because there's a lot of people that aren't. Yeah. Just to, get that, to feel like you're there type of thing.
Yeah.
But as a player myself, imagine trying to set yourself up. You've just played a quarter of footy, you've had the talk, whatever,
Yeah.
and then you're going out to your positions. You're there to play footy. I would not want to go talk to the media.
Yeah.
I understand if it's a captain or whatever, but if they're picking someone who's not their first game, but someone inexperienced, that could mess with their mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's not a yes or a no. It's good to have him on, but knowing me as a player, from the player's point of view, I would not like to be called over for interview while I'm trying to run out
At
to play a
quarter
game.
time, yeah. I think it's just an annoying thing. One more thing.
You can see that they want to go.
Yeah.
You can see that they're
They just want to go. They just want to
league.
get into their position. But yeah, one more
They
thing.
get in trouble if they don't.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing I want to talk about is this whole betting thing that's going around in the AFL community. It's so annoying. Mitch Robertson made a comment about it, and I would like to read it real quick if I can, because I saved it. So Mitch basically said, and this is it's becoming a serious thing. I don't think me and you would ever get into this state because we just take the piss out of betting.
No.
We're just
Yes.
This player got injured, there goes my multi, whatever. But yeah, Mitch Robertson said this in terms of people betting on the AFL and the threats that players have been getting because a player's cost them their multi, whatever. And Mitch said this: not one AFL player gives a flying fuck, I don't care, how we cost you a $100 multi. It's a $5 bet, you idiots. If you're struggling with that amount, please don't punt in the first place. Death threats and hope you do your ACL next game. I dare say we won't pay you out either. So there you go. Mitch Robertson's had enough. And so should, it's just ridiculous to hear that players are getting death threats, family threats to, get injured next game just because that a guy lost one leg on his multi. It's beyond ridiculous. I think people are just being stupid. They just
Sam and I joke around text fucking Anderson stuffed us up injury. I would never go message Anderson on Instagram, be like, hey, you messed up my multi.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope you do your ACL. Because I play footy, so imagine if someone messaged me that, I'd be like, well, fucking hell. I wouldn't say sorry because it's not my fault.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like if you can joke around it with your friends, but actually sending messages to the players who are literally playing footy, it's their job, and they're giving you entertainment, I just think it's wrong. I feel like you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
You can message someone saying, oh, you've played a good game, blah, 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 legend, but don't send them death threats. That's just, or injury threats and stuff like that. That's horrible.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just beyond ridiculous. People need to stop doing that. The players are getting frustrated, and it's just not a good look. It's not a good look for yourself. It's not a good look for anyone. You just shouldn't be sending death threats in general. Let's be real here. And it's just stop being stupid. Anyway, so we'll finish off with our tips. We'll finish off the episode with our footy tips, and then we'll say goodbye. So I'll go first, and just do the Thursday night game for the margin. You know how it works.
Yep.
So Thursday night, I think the Giants will beat the Swans tonight by 16 points. I think the Power will be the Cats. Will beat the Cats, not be the Cats. That'd be weird. Brisbane to beat North Melbourne. I reckon we're going to beat the D's, and that's not saying that in biased terms. I think we just have a lot of good players returning this week. Elliott, Darcy Moore, Hoskin Elliott, and potentially Scott Pendlebury. And I'm hearing that Luke Jackson is out for the D's from a hamstring, and Max Gawn won't be returning this week, so who knows? I've got the Blues over the Dockers. Close game. The Dogs over the Crows by quite a big margin.
Hopefully, yeah.
Saints over the Dons. Eagles over the Hawks. And the Tigers over the Suns. That's what I've went.
Yeah. Yes, I think most of mine are the same. I'm going with the Giants as well.
Yeah.
I reckon by 23.
Okay.
My favourite number. I reckon the Cats over Port Adelaide. Only because it's at Metricon. That's the only reason. If it was at Adelaide Oval, I would have gone with the Power.
Okay.
but without
it's a bit of an even playing field. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. The Lions over the Roos. I'm going to Collingwood over Melbourne as well. Yes. Carlton as well over the Dockers. Yep. I just feel like if Carlton...
That was Siri. Sorry.
If Carlton start off like they have been the last couple of weeks and they keep it going instead of switching off, I reckon they'll win. Hopefully us against Adelaide. I really hope we win.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'm going to go the Saints over Essendon and the Eagles over Hawthorn, and then also Richmond over the Suns.
Yeah. And that wraps up this episode. Hopefully I don't delete it again.
No, I know.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully our teams get up so we can be happy for the next episode and not be annoyed. But it's there's another episode done. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the intro to the video. That was a bit stupid, but whatever. It changes things up. And hopefully your betting goes well. And stop sending death threats to players, you flogs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And also with betting as well, like, don't bet on every game. It's just a way, especially if you're going to put on like a 15-leg multi, do not do that.
Yeah.
And if you are, bet like $1 or $2.
Yeah.
Do not put $10 on every game.
Yeah. Just bet on games that you think will do well. Don't bet on games where there's a bit going through your head like, oh, this is a bit of an iffy game, this player won't do that. Take bets on games that you think players are going to do well in.
Or most likely, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks guys for watching this episode of the Footy Friends Podcast, and we'll see you for another one soon. Cheers!